And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. No Ben today, and the one and only David James, kind enough to stick around. And David, there's a reason, and I was actually just talking to PK about this. There's a reason I wanted you to stick around, or we wanted you to stick around, I should say, because we are at the road home, and this is a huge deal, and it's important to PK too, but this is right up your alley every year. You've been super active. This is in your world. You do a lot of work in the helping department, and you're killing it this morning. So I was hoping we'd keep some of that mojo rolling into this show. So thank you for sticking around.
No worries. Glad to be here. There's a lot of good people here doing a lot of good work, having a lot of impact on people's lives. And I would say, and I know that I was told that this happened.
Okay.
There's, I don't know how much time we have for this, how much you want to go into the Jazz and all that. For a long time, the homeless services on the Wasatch Front, there's been some in Ogden, but mostly they've been in Salt Lake County. Some in South Salt Lake, some in Midvale, a lot in Salt Lake City, obviously, for a long time. And the Davis School District just did a program where they, and it's one specific teacher who's now retired who is at Northridge High. Dave Sider is the guy's name. And he heard about Super Bowl of Caring, and he launched Super Bowl of Caring and decided we need a pantry at Northridge High. He's a Northridge High history teacher. He's a huge sports fan, by the way.
Oh, cool.
He's a big listener of our station. He's retired and lives in Virginia now.
Oh, wow.
I talk to him periodically, and he listens to all our shows later. And he's like, these Utah and BYU 8:30 games are killing me at 10:30 Eastern time. But he says DJ and PK is much better from 9 to noon. But anyway, so he did the Super Bowl of Caring, raised money, decided he was going to keep doing it week after week, ended up raising $70,000 with the help of a lot of students at Northridge High. They opened a pantry. Then they opened a pantry at Clearfield. That helped them identify kids in need in their school, and there were a lot more than they knew.
Right.
High school students at Northridge and Clearfield. They opened teen centers, and they worked with state legislators, one of whom is here today. I don't know if he's still here. They worked with state legislators, and the thing that really put it over the edge is how bad is the problem? And everyone's got their ideas, right? You watch the news, you got your thoughts, you're wherever you are on the political spectrum, right? But I think the message was sent out, go talk to people in your community. Go to your Thanksgiving extended family reunion or Thanksgiving or Christmas or 4th of July or whatever. Find the teacher, the social worker, the administrator, and this is good advice for all of us. Find those people and say, hey, I've heard this. Tell me what's it really like. Don't hold back, because those teachers, social workers, administrators tend to hold back because nobody wants those stories thrown at them.
Right.
And then they heard, hey, this is real. This isn't a political talking point. This is happening in my community every day at schools that I drive by, and it wasn't my reality, so how would I know? I couldn't imagine this world. I didn't live in this world. But this is happening to a lot of kids. And now they've opened some supportive housing for homeless kids in the Davis District. They have made huge progress, major strides forward. And there's no one person to credit. There are a lot of people who have done a lot of good things. And I think it's just incumbent on all of us to find out what's really going on in our lives and our neighborhoods. Stay away from political talking points and talking heads. Talk to people at a neighborhood gathering, at a church gathering, at a family holiday gathering, when you see that person who is a teacher, a social worker, an administrator, because they all have the stories. They know what's going on for kids. And it can be really brutal. And if it wasn't your childhood, how are you supposed to know?
Right.
You can't know. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening. And I did a story a few years ago, and then I'll get off the soapbox.
No, you're good.
I went to, they opened pantries at Olympus High and at Orem High and at Brighton High. And I went, and PK knows this principal. The guy who was principal then, I think 2 or 3 principals again. You know, they rotate every few years. But the principal at the time, PK knew him. And he said, this guy's a very trustworthy person. Like when you look him in the eye and you say something, he looks you in the eye, says it back, and that's how it is. This is a guy you can trust. And I went up there, and the photographer, and you've been to Brighton High probably.
Yeah,
they've got the new building, right? And I said, there are people watching this story and they see this brand new shiny school, 30th East, on the bench, high above the little people. How could you have hungry kids in this school? And he looked me right in the eye, as PK said he would. And he said it in a tone that you would never argue with because you know it's the truth when you hear it. He said, hungry kids? I got 50 homeless kids.
Wow.
That's package led with that bite.
Yeah.
Let's just get right to the issue. If you only hear one thing, hear this principal say this about Brighton High. I went back a year later to a follow-up and said, do you remember saying? And he said, and now I have 100.
Wow.
We're seeing apartment complexes. They're lucrative. They're popping up all over the valley. If you build big apartment complexes, somebody in them is in tough times. Not everybody. Some people are in an apartment complex for convenience. It's that stage in their life, whatever. But somebody else is there, and they can't turn on the electricity, and they don't have food. And they may have had a health crisis. They may have gone through a divorce. And their next step is not being able to afford that apartment, and then they're here. And that's why they had 1,100 people here. And so it isn't just this place, and it's why we talked earlier this morning about all the people who collaborate with this place, because there are a lot of people who know what's going on. And I got to say, I moved through my life for a long time, and I didn't know. I thought I knew, but it was way worse than what I thought I knew.
So here's the number, 801-819-7300, 801-819-7300. But the easy way to go might be theroadhome.org, and the donate button is like right in the middle
Use your
of the
credit
page.
card, get your frequent flyer miles, people.
You can't miss it.
You can do two things at once. You can help yourself while you give.
But here's the thing. You and I have been a part of this, well, my entire career. You go back into the
2002 when I got hired at Simmons.
Yep.
Craig Hansen, one of our old bosses.
Indeed.
He was president. This started because his niece, he told me the story, his niece was a student at the U and was studying to be a social worker and found out about the road home and said at a Thanksgiving gathering, Uncle Craig, here's what's going on. We got to do something about it.
Right. And it's grown every single year we've done it, added more stations, more TV stations, bigger participation. We see the support every single year, but you look at the dollar totals, and the only, I'll add, you hit the cause right on the head, but I will add, I'm always inspired by our listeners in particular who are really, really good at this as far as having hearts and contributing where you can. And of course, we're talking about the dollar amount because we're competitive and we like to beat the other stations, which of course is extraordinarily important. But I've had, friends. We've had great listeners. We've had companies that also get stuff together. I know you talked to the police chief earlier.
Yep.
I heard that, where they had a competition amongst the precincts to get material goods, and we're talking, blankets and clothing and diapers and
coats,
and
socks, diapers, and diaper wipes are huge need.
Well, and
super expensive.
And
Very
we're
expensive.
here at the family shelter, and I'm glad that we are. Because, this is the grassroots, and we're talking about children. And just to add to, what you were saying, if you've ever seen the kids get on the bus here at this shelter or get off the bus and go to school, it really just hammers it home. Like
Celeste is on the show. They've set it up at the school district. So this is on the bus routes. This is the first stop. It's the last stop. So no other kids see these kids getting off at a homeless shelter. There's no stigma there.
So they do amazing work here, and we've seen it. Speaking of Celeste, I think I've known her for the entire 20-whatever years I've done it. She's honestly amazing. So all the people here are 801-819-7300 and theroadhome.org. I'm trying to think of how you put the Jazz game last night when you were doing your review of the stories, but I found it funny. You said something like they pulled out a loss or
Yeah, they pulled out. It was a really good thing. Well, people are paying money to go to the games. They want to be entertained, but the Jazz entertain them. There's a lot of points. A lot of guys made shots. I think there were moments in the game where you could look at Bailey like, that's why they used the fifth pick on him. Look at what he just did, right? There aren't that many people who can do that. He is far from a finished product, but you just see these flashes and you think, man, he is going to be really good one day, right? What are we going to say about him when he's a third-year guy? Because we saw Kessler in his third year make big strides. Now we're seeing Keyonte in his third year make big strides. And I want to say big strides. I don't want to say they are great. I don't want to say they have arrived. The NBA, and you and Ben were talking about this, there's a little cotton candy doll of this. Cotton candy looks good, and it tastes good, and then in your mouth, and then it's gone. Like, what was that?
Well, and
it wasn't really food.
Zero nutrition. Yeah, I was
zero nutrition, right? Like, These guys haven't really arrived until they've done it in the playoffs.
Right.
But you got to check all these boxes. You got to walk this path, and we can see them taking steps down the path. And they haven't arrived. You are arriving. You can win the NBA championship, and then, okay, now lots of people won the NBA championship. Do it a second time. Go back to back, right? Put yourself in more select company. Even if you win it all, you haven't arrived.
Right.
It's sports. There's always another thing. So the thing is to go to a game, see the progress, see the effort, see them and think, I am seeing them go down this path. They're making progress. But the Jazz need that pick. They do not want that pick to go to Oklahoma City, and they need to get a little lucky with that pick.
Yeah.
If the Jazz end up with the 5th or 6th worst record and end up drafting 1, 2, or 3, they need top 5, 10, 15 players if they're going to win a championship.
Uh-huh.
And I think right now they've identified a lot of guys. I don't think they picked very many busts. I think they picked guys who were going to be Pace Mannion had a good NBA career. Now, Pace will tell me I could have had a better one. I should have had a better one. He'll tell you specifically I should have shot the ball more.
Uh-huh.
I was too selfless. I didn't stand out. And then the next big thing comes along, and I get squeezed out. I could have. I would have. He should have taken, But nonetheless, if you stay in the NBA for, I think Pace is in it for 7 years.
Uh-huh.
That's
pretty good. Yeah,
that is something,
pretty
right?
good.
Plus, he got to play another decade overseas. These players who play 5 to 7 to 10 years in the NBA, I think there are a lot of guys in the last rebuild. Alec Burks, super popular, right?
Well, he might still be in the league.
I know, right? Now, has he ever been an all-star? No. Is he guy 1, 2, or 3 on an elite team? No. But he's constantly in the rotation of a playoff team. So you're not just in the top 500 players, in the NBA.
Uh-huh.
He's probably in the top 150 or 2. We could argue and split hairs and all that, right? And to stay in the top 100, 150, 200 players, whatever, for that long, if to stay in a rotation of a playoff team, that's a heck of an accomplishment. He's a really good player. But they need better players than that to build what they want to build. And maybe Ace Bailey, it's early, it's hard to know. It looks like there's a ton of promise, right? But how many guys they have are top 5, 10, or 15? Can someone Donovan Mitchell size, Keyonte size, other players? Iverson's the outlier. He's the guy of that size. And Steph Curry's bigger than Iverson, but he still isn't 6'6". 6'6" to me is kind of the NBA minimum. There aren't going to be many guys who make the NBA under 6'6". And the guys who do will largely play one at a time. Because if you play 2 guys under 6'6", the other team's going to find a matchup to exploit.
Well, we saw that with Donovan and Mike Conley.
Yeah, we did. And I think we see it all the time. I think in any year there's teams who could put 2 guys out under 6'6", and they don't because their coach is like, if we do that, we're going to get our brains kicked in until I sub for one of them.
Wait, who was the salty 2 guard that played next to Allen Iverson that made it possible for AI to play? What was that guy's name? You know who I'm talking about? He couldn't shoot a lick, but he played a ton of D, and he was like 6'6". I want to say like Eric Snow. Does that sound right?
Might be right.
But I'm just to back up your point, the only reason Allen Iverson was feasible, even way back then,
you got to build the right team around him.
You had to pair him with somebody that was going to do the things that he was weak at. And, roster construction. And that's part of the reason the last bit of the Jazz didn't work. But I think they have at least 2 players, and thinking about the young, they have at least 2 players that are a slam dunk to be better than that, in my opinion.
Better than what?
Than like your 12-year role player.
Oh, yeah.
So you could talk me. You could talk me into more, but they've got 2 for sure. I think Ace Bailey will be way better.
Markkanen and Ace Bailey.
I'm not counting Markkanen. I'm thinking like young players.
Okay.
I still am not convinced that Markkanen is long term going to be on the roster.
I'm not convinced any of these guys are long term going to be on the roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a chance to get one of the top 5 or 10 players in the NBA, you're going to need to trade 2 or 3 guys who are top 50.
Yeah.
Right. So. We can love all these guys. Maybe we love them because they're going to play here 15 years. Maybe they are. I don't think so, but maybe they'll be here 10 years. Maybe they'll be here 2 years, but you'll be traded for somebody.
Right.
Jose Ortiz, to go way back for old-time Jazz fans, was he a good draft pick? A lot of people say no. Well, he played. He did some okay stuff. But they traded him for Jeff Malone. How good was Jeff Malone in Jazz history? Well,
awesome.
He was one of the top 3 players when they got to their first Western Conference final.
Yep.
Right? But then they traded Jeff Malone for Jeff Hornacek. So if they don't get Jose Ortiz, they don't get Jeff Hornacek. right? I can make the argument. And it's the same way with these guys. Some of these guys may be here a little while, some fairly long stretch of time, and some may be here a very long time.
Right.
Trades will happen. But they have to be good players, or you're probably not getting good players back for them. So they're assets. Maybe they play for you a long time.
Well, that's the game.
But maybe they help you. Right. So I don't worry so much about that. You know, if Keyonte George becomes a player, and now this is 3 straight 30-point games, and he's had a nice stretch here to open the season, you know, people are looking at him different this year than they looked at him last year. Progress has been made. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
But lose a game in the fourth quarter because trying to get a top 5 pick, a top 3 pick, the number 1 pick. And they're trying to hold on to the pick. So it's a clutch loss.
Yeah.
Did I say clutch loss? Is that what got you going?
Yeah. Clutch. That's what it was.
That was a clutch loss.
Clutch loss.
I want to look at defense in that game.
If they're going to keep the pick, it's going to turn in. This season's going to turn into a bloodbath.
They have to sit Keyonte and they have to sit Markkanen because those guys can score points in bunches. And if the Jazz are going to win with Kessler out and no rim protection, I mean, Nurkic is big and he rebounds.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's not bouncy. He's not long. He's not a shot blocker. He's not a rim protector. If they trade him and get a good draft pick or a good smaller player back, they can make themselves better in the long run but worse in the short run just because they'd have even less size. And right now, that looks like I-15 going down the middle of the paint. I mean, the number of layups and dunks, and they got an offensive rebound. Lakers got an offensive rebound, and I'm watching the game up in the booth with you and with Tim Lacombe. And as soon as the shot is met, Tim is like, "That's good defense. Get that board." And after he says, there's a pass, and LeBron slices and dunks. And Tim's like, that always happens. You don't get that rebound, that's what happens. You scramble for the ball, you're out of place, there's space, and a guy like LeBron knows there's space.
He's going to get it done.
He's going to attack.
Yeah.
And you're not in position because you were scrambling for the rebound. You either get the rebound or that happens to you. Yeah.
Board man gets paid, David.
143 points they gave up. There was a lot of that going on.
801-819-7300. That's the number to call to donate to the Road Home. Or simply go to theroadhome.org where they have a donate tab, of course. Say that you're donating and you listen to The Zone because we're competitive and we like to win. But there's we do.
We do. It's all
you
true.
know what?
It's all true.
The other slobs in the radio industry like to win too. And
they do.
We don't like to give them any sort of satisfaction. So
when we were downtown, there was a huge scoreboard we could all see.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of trash talking. And now in this location, there isn't a scoreboard, and I don't think that's an accident.
All right, joining the show now from Rocky Mountain Power. We're so excited that they are involved. Dick Garlish joins us here on the Jake and Ben Show with DJ kind enough to stick around. Hey, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Now, that is a good-looking hat. Did you see this, David James? Did you see this?
I did not.
Now
Nice.
That is a good-looking hat. And might I say you wear it well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, when you got a face for radio like me, you got to dress up a little bit with a hat.
The self-deprecation starts now.
Yeah, well, I got to get in on this trash talking.
Yeah,
I gotta figure out how to get in.
We can't all be David James either,
That's true.
Just
That's true.
magic on the camera. I mean,
Now the trash talking accelerates. That's a backhanded compliment.
Thank you for being here. First and foremost, David and I were talking about how long we've been involved with the Mediathon and how it's been so cool to see it grow. And that also is in big time, large part to sponsors and people like you guys who jump in with it. So first and foremost, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to participate in it. At Rocky Mountain Power, we're all about community. We're part of the community. We provide the power, but we live, we work in our communities, and we're all also about helping out and lowering barriers. So at Rocky Mountain Power this year, we proudly gave $50,000 to the Road Home, and then our employees through our Rocky Mountain Power Foundation gave an additional $15,000 this year.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, so I couldn't be prouder of our company and our team leading into to help in this area because it's an area that needs help. My understanding is that between 2023 and 2024, there's been a 39% increase in homelessness. I mean, and you can just see that in the numbers that the Road Home has put up this year. I mean, they helped 7,500 people, including 2,000 kids in our community just last year. I mean, that's a lot of people that need help and support. And the way that the Road Home does it is I'm personally impressed with. A lot of class, a lot of dignity, and they really provide, in addition to the shelter stuff, a lot of other programs that help support people from moving from a homelessness state or being unhoused to a more secure thing. Like the Finch program is a great example for them. 65% of the folks that participated, families that participated in that program, moved on to permanent sheltering after they finished the program. So just an amazing organization. And for those that are listening out there and thinking about donating and your money, like, I couldn't recommend it more, because the dollars that you put into the road home, they go straight to the people that need it. And it's just a great organization. We're proud to support it.
You can go online and look at the 990 and see where the money goes if you're into reading that kind of thing. Some business people are. Other people, their eyes roll into their back of the head. Yeah. But you can also go to Charity Navigator, and they will evaluate. They evaluate and assess a lot of charities across the country, and they rank them 1 to 4 stars. And they've been given the Road Home 4 stars for like 20 years now.
Yeah,
so
amazing run.
You are welcome to go do your own research online, or you can just believe everything Rocky Mountain Power tells you.
You a sports fan, Dick?
I am, yeah.
Utes, Cougars, Aggies, what are we talking about?
I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball.
All right.
I'm a Montana guy. I grew up in Montana, so this Saturday.
I was going to guess. I saw the beard in the hat. I almost said Wyoming. I was so close.
Yeah. Well,
the Grizz way better than the Pokes.
Yeah, all right, the zone is now my favorite.
Exactly.
So Montana or Montana State?
Montana State. We're going to have a grudge match, the duel part 2, the Brawl in the Wild part 2, and the winner goes to the Chipper in the FCS. So excited about that. And
ABC 2 o'clock, not to pub another network, but holy cow, that's a big game.
It's going to be a good game because there's a lot on it, just including the pride. We've been, I think we were on the 150th year of the Montana State game, and my Grizz lost the regular season game, so I want a little revenge, and I want to go to the Chipper.
But if this one wins, you're not gonna mind if you win this one.
I'll feel better about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say I didn't mind, but I feel better.
Okay.
By the way, Missoula, one of the sneaky fun towns in this great country. Missoula is so fun.
Not to sidetrack you too much on the football, but don't you feel like whoever wins that semifinal is going to be a heavy favorite in the title game? Not that there's any locks. 3 turnovers, you can lose any football game.
Yeah.
But these teams are seeded 2-3. Those teams aren't seeded. It feels like it's going to be a heavyweight Cinderella final, regardless of whether Montana or Montana State wins.
Yeah, it's shaping up that way, but you never know in the FCS. I think that's what I love about it. But I'm just happy that a Montana school is gonna win that championship one way or another. That's my take.
But you don't really mean that.
Yeah, I was about to say, if the Grizz lose, then the Bobcats are going to say, we swept you. We won the Big Sky title, and probably they're going to say we won the national title.
I am aware of the downside in this situation.
Yeah, but you know what? You can only have high rewards if you have high stakes.
That's right. That's why we love it this time of year, right? And Missoula is one of the sneaky, fun towns. And if you like football and you like sports, you got to go down and see my pal, Bo Anderson at the Missoula Club. That's where you need to go.
Now we get to the real important stuff here. On a scale of 1 to 100, 100 being absolute truth, 0 being total fiction, Kevin Costner, Yellowstone, how close are they getting to the truth when they portray your home state?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a friend who is a 5th-generation rancher in north central Montana, and I asked him that same question, and his response to me was this. Well, the way I sees it, all the people that moved here after they saw a river runs through it are now mad at all the people that moved here after they watched Yellowstone.
That is hilarious.
That is a great line.
Oh, my gosh.
Make sure you pass that along. That is a great line.
That is so funny.
But I will say that Kevin Costner and his character don't bear much in common with my friend Leighton Perry, who runs that ranch. They're very different.
My wife's theory is there aren't that many naked women walking around ranches either.
And
sex sells,
you could say no comment, Dick. That's all right. You can duck that one.
Well, I'm just trying to keep it a family show.
Yeah, thank you, because David's failing. And big thank you to Rocky Mountain Power. You mentioned employees and raising $15K, and pass along our thanks to them too. Thanks for all you guys do. We appreciate it, Dick.
All right, thank you. This has been great. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
sometime we'll have you back and talk about a Major League Baseball stadium. Near the old headquarters.
I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
it's getting pretty excited. We're breaking ground and dirt's moving, and it's a pretty exciting time in the Power District. Yep.
All right.
Love it.
Stay tuned. More next. Jacob Ed 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are live from the road home. It's the Mediathon. We're raising money for an incredible cause. 801-819-7300. People are standing by to take your donations, or simply go to theroadhome.org and hit that donate button. And make sure you tell them you're a Zone listener, because we want to mop the floor with the arrow, for example. Sue Kelly just walked in, and we love Sue 364 days out of the year.
But today she must lose.
So please donate. Theroadhome.org, of course, just an amazing cause, and we'll talk about it throughout the show. Let's get to the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, Kyle Whittingham says he is at peace with his decision to step down as Utah's head coach.
I'm a free agent. I'm in the transfer portal. So yeah, it's a different feel, but like I said, I'm at peace, and I did not want to be that guy that overstayed his welcome, and people just saying, hey, when's this guy going to leave? That was not my intention ever, and I hope I didn't do that. I'm sure with some people I did do that, but to me the timing is right.
That was Kyle Whittingham from practice yesterday. DJ, I usually get a kick out of telling people how bad their PR is. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, Whit put on a masterclass yesterday.
He's good at it.
He absolutely is. He put on a PR masterclass yesterday, and that was, I'll put it this way, that was the classy way to sell it. And I don't think we'll ever know what happened behind closed doors and who encouraged who to do what.
Right.
But that was a classy way to handle it. I thought yesterday at practice, without lying, without being fake. He didn't say anything that was untrue in the slightest. And now he probably didn't. In fact, he definitely didn't tell the whole story, good or bad.
Right.
But the message that he put out yesterday was pretty brilliant. It was a classy way to do it.
We could figure out part of the story. Part of it was, out there. And I think we know some of his bigger goals. He wants the program to flourish after he's gone. Most coaches have been there somewhere 20 years and built something or helped build something, because Ron McBride built some of it and Urban built some of it, and obviously Kyle's built the last 20 years of this story. So, and he wants that to continue, and so he needs Morgan there, and he realizes guys are getting opportunities. Kalani came close to Penn State. I think we all assumed Jay would have gotten the head coaching job, and then we all assumed that the next call Kalani would have made for defensive coordinator would have been to Morgan.
Right.
And Penn State's got gobs of money, and so and whether it's USC or Texas or Penn State or what, there are lots of people who have interest over Morgan over time. He's been a defensive coordinator for a decade now.
And a good one.
Yeah, they've had a bunch of top 20 defenses. He's been in 4 conference title games and 2 Rose Bowls. They don't give up many yards. They don't give many points. Opportunities are going to come. He's got to make way for him. It doesn't mean Kyle wants to go. It doesn't mean maybe there weren't difficult conversations with either Morgan or the AD or the president or some combination of all of them. It doesn't mean he was at peace with every step of the process along the way, but he has arrived at a place where I believe him when he says that. Doesn't mean it wasn't awkward or confrontational or whatever other word you want to throw out there along the way. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. And I've talked to people who are close to him, and they got their opinions, and Kyle has people who are so loyal to him. They are fiercely loyal to him, to the point that while I don't think they lie to me, I know they see the truth from their perspective. And that truth's a big ball. You can't see the whole thing from any one place at the same time. You got to walk around it and talk to different people. And it's not necessarily the AD or president's job to make Kyle feel good.
Nope.
It's to make sure the football program stays good. And the worst scenario, and the one I think they've avoided, is where the coach stays a year or two too long. We've all seen that many times. And the person who should have been the successor has moved on and taken another job. Oops. And we all know that story, and they didn't want it to happen here. Now, along the way, that may have led to awkward or difficult or tense moments.
Have you ever, and we can move on, obviously we're way late. Have you ever overstayed your welcome at a party?
Of course.
You ever look around the living room and realize you're the last person there?
I got to leave.
Nobody wants to be that guy. No.
Company Christmas party and everyone's gone. What am I doing?
What am I doing here?
What am I doing? You're talking to two people in the corner. You're talking in the corner. You turn around like everybody's left.
Everybody's gone.
I guess we should go. This party's over.
You're talking to one of the hosts. The other one is already
party's
going
over.
off
Let's
to
go.
get their pajamas on.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, guys, how good is Keyonte George?
No, he's pretty good.
Yeah. We had to send Jamil scrambling for the dumb button on that one.
That drop lives on.
Yeah.
That'll be useful after a Mammoth game, after college football and basketball games. Well done. Thanks for the drop.
There's still more that he needs to do.
There's more that all these guys need to do.
Yeah.
Lowry Markkanen is the most accomplished player on the team, and he's never been in a playoff game. And he's played more regular season games without being in a playoff game than anybody else active in the NBA right now. Everybody on this team still has a lot to prove. But they've also proven some things. And Keyonte's clearly been taking major strides in the right direction this year. Clearly.
My favorite play of his last night was hitting a 3 in LeBron's face and then basically baiting him into fouling and making the shot and making it a 4-point play. I bring that up because
that wasn't the kind of play LeBron made in his prime.
No. Well, Keyonte acts like he belongs. He plays like he belongs. Yeah. And not in an obnoxious Taylor Horton Tucker kind of way. But
just to throw one specific player under the bus.
Not in an annoying THT kind of way. But actually in a productive and confident manner, which I think is a big part of his deal.
Old school, I would say I like the way that Keyonte and Collier attack off the dribble or off the bounce or now put pressure on the rim. But it also it's all the same thing, and the expressions change every few years. But you get the idea. You've got 2 guards now who can have the ball 30 feet from the hoop and can get to the rim in a way that really freaks the defense out. And that's going to create open shots for everybody else.
What's next, Christian?
And number 3, the college football playoff begins tonight.
What are you going to pick, David? TNT or True TV? What are you going to watch? You get your choice. You want the old True TV to watch Oregon at James Madison, or are you going to pick TNT?
TNT.
I just find it funny when they put
the same game on multiple channels.
No, but they put sports on True TV. They do it with the NCAA tournament. If you looked at
I think they're trying to turn True TV into an all-sports kind of product.
I've heard that too. But if you've seen the banana stuff they have on True TV and then this sandwich a football game in there is pretty funny. Well, not that I put that much credit into what Vegas has put out there for a line, but Oregon by 20.5. If James Madison has any pride at all, they'll go out and play tough.
The G5s are in a tough spot. And, I mean, I grew up going to San Diego State games. I root for the little guy because I grew up rooting for the Chargers, the Aztecs, and the Padres. And they were all the little guy because right up the freeway 2 hours in L.A., there's the Dodgers winning it all. There's the Lakers winning it all. There's USC football. There's UCLA basketball. That's where Goliath lived, L.A.
Yeah, right.
We were the little guys. We wanted to have a rivalry with Goliath, but they were busy having a rivalry with San Francisco. When they lost to us, they're like, that's amusing.
Right.
We don't even have rivals with you.
They barely even cared.
Yeah. So I'm G5 guy all the way. This is just in my DNA from elementary school. I mean, I can't help it. And having said that, the G5s I always thought could compete. And Utah backed it up when they won the Fiesta Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl. Boise State when they beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Utah when they won again in the Sugar Bowl. TCU when they beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. Those schools had a bunch of big – UCF has done it, right? But just in these last 3 or 4 years.
It's been ugly.
NIL and transfer. You can't put together 3 classes of 2-star Eric Weddle types and build a team that wins the Sugar Bowl with 6 guys who are going straight to the NFL in a couple months. And maybe more who went, but they were freshmen and sophomores and weren't at their peak yet. But you can't do that because now every year you get rated. The Utes, who've now stepped across the line, rated New Mexico. Offensive coordinator, quarterback, receiver, running back. The running back got stuck. He didn't star at this level, but the receiver and the QB did, and the OC did. You can't build at the G5 level the way you used to. I think it's going to get harder and harder for them to compete. And the way they're going to get around acing these guys out, which they clearly want to do because they want to share the money, I think they get rid of automatic bids. Even though that's what happens in basketball, men's and women's, and volleyball and soccer and softball and baseball and blah, blah, blah. I think they're just going to end up taking the top 16 teams and then they can go, oh, well, you aren't in the top 16. We're not acing anybody out. There's no automatic bid for the Big Ten or the SEC. We just all know the Big Ten and SEC champs are going to end up 1, 2, 3.
David, thank you for sticking around today.
No worries.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
You are the best, and thanks for doing it, especially today here at the
Well, then
Road
I'll
Home.
stay a few more minutes.
All right, stay tuned. We're going to talk to our friend Patricia coming up right around the corner. She is a presenting sponsor of our Road Home event, and so we're excited to talk to her. Stay tuned. More next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you to nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We are live at the Road Home. It's the annual Mediathon. We're raising money for a great cause. We're helping families get on the road home. Of course, not just shelter, but opportunities to put the wheels back on, or to get back on their feet, I should say. And we've been doing this for many, many years, going back to the 90s or I guess early 2000s as a station. I believe this is my 23rd year as being a part of it, and it's amazing. And we couldn't do it without the help of all our generous listeners. So theroadhome.org, click on the donate tab, or call 801-819-7600. All right, it's time to talk some University of Utah sports with the man himself. Go ahead, Christian.
Covering the Utes better than anyone else. This is Ute Insider Steve Bartle of KSLSports.com on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Howdy, Steve. How are you?
Doing okay, Jake. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Steve. We're here at the Road Home, and this is always a highlight of every year, helping folks out, and particularly at this shelter. And I know you have a young family. They help a lot of young families. 200 kids used the shelter last night. So it's always great to see the generosity of our listeners, and hopefully we're making a little bit of a difference. So to specifically answer your question, I'm doing great. But happy holidays to you. How are you? Your family ready for the big event?
Yeah, man. It's always a good time, and you know, I've worked the Road Home and that a couple times in my lifetime, and it's really cool to see the generosity of so many people. And I think being here in Utah, it's one of the unique characteristics of our state, and so it's always cool to see that come to light around this time. And so, like with my family, we're doing good, man. Miles is now, he's almost 3 and starting to grasp like what is actually going on, and so we're excited. We're pretty excited for this Christmas for sure.
Oh, yeah. When the 3-year-old, they get into the ripping into the presents phase,
Yep.
you know, like really getting after it. That's good times. All right, Steve, I'm just curious for your read on, now we've heard from Coach Witt. We've played some of the sound on the show. I'm curious for your read on the entire situation.
Yeah, obviously, there's still a lot that feels like it's not been answered yet. There's still questions that have not been answered, but in talking with Coach Whittingham last night at his media availability, he emphasized the point that now is the right time for a change to happen, and I believe him. I believe he truly feels that. I believe that he knows that this is, a really good situation for Morgan to come into and to help him, get off to a good start in his career. But just with the whole entire situation, it feels like there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things that, like I said, things haven't been answered. And, with Kyle Whittingham, we're talking about a living legend. Right, like that's the thing we're talking about with him is we're one of the top 10 coaches in the country, when he's on duty, and for it to be a Friday evening news dump with the news of him stepping down and all of that, it just feels like there's a lot not being done to really send off a living legend the right way. And so, like, I'm sure that we'll get more over the next couple of weeks. We know that we're going to have a January 6th press conference to introduce Morgan Scalley, but I really hope that Utah takes the time to send Kyle Whittingham off the right way, and I'm sure that they will do that. I'm sure that they're putting together things, but yeah, certainly an interesting time. And it's interesting. I've had a lot of conversations with people that have been on the beat and that, and the belief coming off of the Kansas game was that this was retirement. This was it. Like, we were all convinced that he was set to retire, and then as we got into the off season, obviously that all changed a week after or so the season ended. Everything started to shift towards Kyle wants to run it back now, and so I'm of the thinking that Kyle doesn't fully know exactly what he wants to do just yet. And I think for him to step down, and he mentioned this last night, to step down, to step away, and to take time to fully come to terms with whatever route he wants to go, I think is going to be the smart move for him. So that's going to be his plan over the next month, is taking time to just digest his future and what it looks like. So we got some answers on some things, but still a lot to be answered with this whole situation.
Well, that is true. And I said this earlier in the show. I thought Whit put on a PR masterclass yesterday. I thought all his comments were super classy. I thought he told the story without, I'm sure he did not want to get into the details. I'm sure Utah didn't want him to get into the details either. And he was able to get the message out there and answer questions without lying, which I get frustrated with. Like, I get it. You can't tell us every little thing, but that doesn't mean you have to lie about it, right? And he was honest. But one question, and you're talking about questions that didn't get answered, I still am not convinced that if Coach Whit alone were to make this decision, that this was the decision they would arrive at. Do you have any take on that? If it really was Whit and Whit's decision alone, whether or not this would be the outcome that we're at?
Yeah, I think, again, it gets back to doing, what Kyle Whittingham has said time and time again, is doing what's best for the university. And the only person that will, let's just say this, Kyle Whittingham is the most powerful person up there, at the University of Utah, right? With what he's done over the last 21 years, the economic benefit that he's provided the university because of the success of his football program, nobody in their right mind is going to tell Kyle Whittingham to leave. Right? I don't think, anyways. That's my take on it. But I do think, there was probably some indications. There was probably talk about, hey, Morgan Scalley, there's a real possibility that if we all run it back, that Morgan, in his career, he wants to take that next step. He wants to be a head coach. He's already. He's a year older than Kyle Whittingham was when Kyle took over the Utah job from Urban. Morgan is 46. Kyle was 45 when he took over. So the clock is ticking for Morgan, and you don't blame Morgan for wanting to ascend to that job, to that role. And I think ultimately that this was the decision. Was Kyle, completely ready to let go? I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, I think Kyle doing what's best for the program and handing the reins over to Morgan Scalley is ultimately what influenced his decision more than anything else. And whether he was forced into that, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. But ultimately, I think that is at the core of what this whole decision and what this whole situation is about.
What do you think Morgan will do differently than Whit?
It's for the bulk of how this program operates, for the majority of how things go and what they do, it's going to look the same. I wouldn't be surprised if there are tweaks with, the offense and sort of the mindset and what they look to accomplish on a week-in, week-out basis. From what I've gathered, I know that Morgan believes in, having a I don't want to say a high-octane offense, but certainly an offense that is more willing to throw the ball around because it benefits, you on the recruiting trail. Players, regardless of whether you're offense or defense, they like to see an offense that can move the ball effectively, and so I think that is going to be an interesting stamp on the offense when he takes over. Is that what we actually see? I think I don't want to say maybe the biggest difference, but I do know that he's a big focus of him is going to be beefing up the recruiting and making sure that they have a lot of people contributing to the recruiting efforts up there at the University of Utah. I think that's going to be a big priority for him. And so, for the most part, it's going to remain the same, the day in, day out operation. But I do think there are going to be things that we see that we notice over the course of time that will reflect on Scally and this being his program when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to the offense, when it comes to some of these other things. I do think we'll see little differences here and there as he begins to take over here.
Any idea who the next defensive coordinator is going to be?
Man, he's got 4 great options right now serving under him on that defensive side of the ball with Colton Swan, Sharif Shaw, Lewis Powell, Luther Ellis. You really can't go wrong with any one of those guys. If I had to pick, a favorite where I was leaning on who would be the guy to emerge from that 4, I'd probably lean Colton Swan. I think he's the guy that, he's done a fantastic job recruiting to that linebacker position. He has experience as a defensive coordinator, in his time up at Weber State under Jay Hill. And, I know that Colton Swan has gotten a lot of interest from programs outside of Utah as well. So I would look at Swan first, but, man, I would be if Shaw is up for it, if he wants to take that role, I think Shaw would be tremendous as a defensive coordinator. And Lewis Powell as well, with just what he does recruiting and all that he does there for Utah. Again, he's got 4 great options in the building already. And that's going to be a tough call, but I would lean towards Swan emerging as the guy to become defensive coordinator.
Granted, it would be speculation, Steve, but do you have any idea how much dough Utah spent on the football team this year, NIL and from the university?
What was it? About $18 million.
Okay.
Altogether, $18 million.
How much do they want that to go up? Or how much does that have the ability to go up, do you think, if the private equity thing works out?
Yeah, it's going to go up. It's going to go up pretty significantly. I would anticipate it getting up to 25, 26, 27 million, just kind of depending on, when this private equity deal is first completed. And, with that private equity deal, I think it's important for people to understand, that all of that money is not necessarily going to NIL, right? That serves a much larger cause for the University of Utah than just, equipping your rosters with good players. That's going to be a big thing. But I do think what it does is, it's going to free up and create opportunities because you're partnering with Otro Capital, who is going to help you set up these corporate sponsorships, which potentially increases your NIL opportunities. And I think that's where kind of the real interesting part of that PE deal comes, is the partnership with Otro and what it means for that. So I think Utah's, what they'll be able to do, funding the roster, I think it's going to see a significant boost once they get that deal completed and move forward with everything in place.
So they're not quite to the 20 yet, and they'll get to the 20 with this deal now.
Yeah, so they had the full $20.5 million, but not all $20.5 million went to football. It's split up between, men's basketball and all the other sports. So I think when it comes to the rev share portion, they fulfilled that full $20.5, but only, I think it was $14 million went to football, and then the rest was covered by NIL.
Okay. All right. Well, it's an interesting world where we find ourselves, Steve. Any other news we need to know getting ready for the Vegas Bowl?
Man, just, more to come, obviously. It'll be interesting to get down to Vegas to get a feel for where the team is at. The team players are going to go home for Christmas, and then they'll fly directly to Las Vegas and get ready for the bowl game down there. But outside of that, we've got Utah basketball tomorrow night. Alex Jensen and the Running Utes taking on Eastern Washington. Obviously, with the loss last week to Mississippi State, Utah looking to get back in the win column tomorrow night. But yeah, man, that's about it on the Utah front. Pretty quiet month of December so far.
Yeah, right. I mean, you've hardly worked at all. I'm jealous.
Barely.
He is Steve Bartle. He covers the Utes for KSLSports.com. He's been very busy, and you should follow all of his work to stay up to date on the latest with all the Bartle bombs that have been dropping. You got to be following Steve. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate all you do.
Appreciate you, Jake.
There you go. Steve Bartle covers the Utes for KSLSports.com, and he's kind enough to jump on with us on Fridays. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, no Ben today, but we are live from the road home. Call and donate, 801-819-7300, 801-819-7300, or you can go online to theroadhome.org and click on the Donate tab and help us out. Help us help families, and we love the road home. We've been doing this for a very, very long time. If you're looking for a really grassroots right there, donating to folks who are solving the problem, the road home is just an unbelievable cause. And we appreciate all our listeners who have donated so far. Christian, we are currently in third place of all the radio stations and TV stations for that matter. We are currently in third. Our listeners have donated $54,939 thus far, which is a great number that we can do better because we are not far behind our friends at FM 100. And I'll be darned if I'm going to let Rusty Keys brag about raising more money than the Zone listeners all year long. So we need you. We've got to move past FM 100, and then we can focus our eyes on X96 and bringing them in. So donate now, 801-819-7300, or simply go online to theroadhome.org/donate and help us out. Theroadhome.org/donate, or really just theroadhome.org, and then on the top of the page there's a donate tab. You just hit on that thing and it makes it super easy. And honestly, if you go to the overall scoreboard, the amount raised for the Mediathon so far, they have a rotating banner of shout-outs for donations. So thanks to everybody who's donating. Theroadhome.org overall, with matches and the amount raised and all the stations and TV and everything there, we've raised so far a total of $669,000, which is what an amazing number, and we can still do more. So help, please, 801-819-7300 or theroadhome.org to donate. The Jazz, Christian, how did DJ put it earlier? A clutch loss. They lose to the Lakers. 143 to 135. Give me your overall take on that game.
No, he's pretty good.
You're going with Keyonte. That's the
pretty
headliner
much.
for you?
Mean, the Lakers were without Austin Reeves, right? The Jazz were without Lauri Markkanen. But I think I do like the way DJ put it. Clutch loss. That's what you want to see this year as far as threading the needle of trying and losing. You want to see these competitive games, but if you want them to keep the pick, the L is ultimately what matters at the end of the day, I guess. But it's 3 straight games now for Keyonte George with over 30 points, and it looks like he's the real deal. You've got Will Hardy making all the producers scramble for the dump button in his post-game press conferences, and it's clear that he's taken a big step forward. And I think the big one last night is he did it without Lowry, right?
Well, I think he's having a great year. And honestly, he does it so often that it's almost not the big story, right? And that's the big thing with him is consistency. And certainly nobody on this show is surprised that he had 34 and 8 last night. So I like the direction you went with Keyonte being the story last night. I also thought Ace Bailey was really good, even though statistically he was not the headliner. He still does stuff every game that's like, okay, I can see what he's all about. But I'm glad you talked about the Jazz because my whole takeaway last night really had to do with the Lakers. And how just happy I am that I don't have to watch the Lakers every single night. I mean, I'm just grateful. The whining and complaining and Luka Doncic, I don't know. I know I'm in the minority here, but I do not like watching him play basketball. I don't like the baiting. I don't like the dribbling. I don't like the stupid shots. I mean, just shameless stuff. What was he from 3 to last night? I know you look at his stat sheet and you're like, whoa, 45 points. But took 12 threes, made 4 of them, which is no right. But took 28 shots. He's taken 28 shots on a team with LeBron James, which is hilarious. I know people look at the assist numbers, but it's the same thing with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. They've turned the assist into a selfish stat. And I just cannot stand watching Luka Doncic play. And as a result, cannot stand watching the Lakers play. And honestly, LeBron, who had 28 and 10 last night, you look at his stat sheet and you go, okay, that's all right. Except for he did most of that damage when Luka was off the floor. So he's been relegated to the role of, okay, when Luka's not playing, I can finally play again. And he's shooting so poorly from 3. The Jazz didn't even guard him. Did you notice that, Christian?
Yeah, they were backing off of him.
They didn't even guard him. They didn't guard him for a foul line shot, which he actually made. But I was thinking, like, wow, I mean, that is taking gapping
Finished
LeBron.
0 of 5.
Yeah, that's taking gapping LeBron to a new extreme. But I don't know. I have a hard time with that brand of basketball. They don't play any defense. And you know what's hilarious is the counter argument to that, like, oh, the Lakers don't play any defense. Well, they were without DeAndre Ayton last night, which is hilarious.
And Austin Reeves, right? They're 2 best defenders,
right? Which is so sad. No, there's no way that Austin Reeves.
I'm being sarcastic.
Okay,
this is funny though because filling in on DJ and PK, I do the What Is Trending segment, looking for stories every morning. There was a story that ESPN put out that JJ Redick had a big team meeting with the players about how they need to all play better defensively, and Luka took it as a calling for the star players to lead the charge and play better defensively. And then the Jazz just scored the most points on the Lakers that anybody has all season. So clearly the meeting didn't do anything.
No, I mean, would you expect it to do anything? I mean, I don't think the sommelier knows what he's doing. I don't think J.J. Redick is any sort of master. Let me put it this way: he's no Phil Jackson, and Luka's a little more motivated this year. There's no doubt. He's not the slimmest player I've ever seen in my life, but he's not bloated Luka like we saw last year. But still, if you look at the MO of him and his behavior in Dallas, Luka's not going to do anything different. Luka's going to do his own thing. I mean, Dallas couldn't even get him to lay off the vape. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to sit him down and say, hey, we need more defensively, and he's going to go out there like Donovan Mitchell always used to and say, wow, it's really up to us to send a defensive message to the rest of the team. The star players, they have to set it up. And then what happens? The same stuff. I mean,
you think that'll change in playoffs at all or no?
No, why would it? Luka, first of all, Luka is really skilled. There's no doubt about it. He is a super skilled player, but he's not good. He's not elite because of his athleticism. I mean, did you see him? Whose shot did he try to block last night, Christian? I don't know if you remember. It was in the first half, and it ended up being a foul because he did not foul. Somebody else fouled, but Luka jumped to kind of try and challenge the shot.
Like 4 inches off the ground.
Maybe 4 inches off the ground. I mean, I tell you what, that was like watching David James jump. No offense, David James, but I was watching the game with him, and we were making jokes about that. He is not athletic, right? So if he's going to play defense, that's going to require something, Christian, effort. And I don't think Luka really is effort guy. I don't. I mean, even his offensive skill is not effort offensive skill. He's not, he can get heavy and still be an all-star because he's not really reliant on being more athletic than the guy across the way from him. LeBron has always been reliant on being the size of Carl, moves like John. You know, that's LeBron and his advantage in the NBA. And to his credit, he's stayed healthy and kept that physical advantage for his entire career. But Nikola Jokic, Christian, is that guy dominating the NBA because he's some sort of superb athlete? No, it's because he's super skilled. I'd put Luka in the category of Jokic. So for either of those players, really, but especially Luka, if he's going to be have any sort of effect defensively, he's going to have to pour it on with effort, and I just don't see that. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah,
do you think it'll happen?
No, I just wonder because you wonder if it's going to click, and they talk about having these meetings, right? But then when you get in such a habit of a long 82-game season, I know Luka's obviously not going to play all 82 games. Nobody does, right? But when you get into such a habit of not playing defense in the regular season, I do have a hard time thinking that that's just a switch that can flip for the playoffs. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I do think that the Lakers Luka is going to be a little bit different than what we saw in Dallas. I'd like to think so. I don't know.
They won't. Well, the problem is entitlement. And
it hasn't been, I guess, and it's already been almost a year. So
yeah, it's you're on your best behavior when you first get the job, and then it's all downhill from there. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, you're taking a nap in the office. Luka's at his most motivated right now, and he's still not playing defense. I remember the media day and for the Jazz, and this would have to be Donovan's, I don't know, like 4th year. And he sits down in front of us, and he's like, oh, man, all offseason I've gotten in shape. I'm going to play defense. We're really going to set a defensive tone. I'm going to be I want to take the other team's best player, all this stuff. And then guess how long that lasted?
Like 2 or 3 games, probably.
Not even 2 or 3 games. First game of the year. I mean, and it's in my opinion, an entitlement thing, and that's really hard to reel back in. And probably a big part of the reason why Will Hardy wants to get Keyonte George really grinding before Keyonte develops those bad habits. I know all that stuff sounds super cliche, but it's a real thing. It's a deal. You don't want those bad habits. Absolutely not. So, yeah, good for Keyonte George. For pouring it on defensively, and I don't see that changing anytime soon from Luka Doncic. We'll wrap things up from the road home. Coming up next, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.